Hello everyone, my name is Ashish and welcome to the Xadmin channel. So today in this lecture we are going to discuss about a Swagger and how to use the Swagger in a Spring Boot application and how to create the documentation of your REST endpoints of your application or of your project. So guys, in this lecture we are going to discuss about the Swagger and also we will discuss about the purpose of using the Swagger to your application or to your project. So what is a Swagger? So Swagger is used to generate the document and to generate the document of all the REST endpoints which are available to your project. So you may create a n number of microservices to your application or to your project. So it is not easy to remember all the endpoints. So the Swagger API help us to generate the documentation of the REST endpoints which you are using in your Spring Boot application. So now let's discuss the purpose of using the Swagger to your application. So the main purpose of using the Swagger, it can be it provide a better productivity. So how you can say that the Swagger provide a better productivity? So let's say that a scenario, a new teammate joined to your team, and guys, it will easy for him to understand the flow of the your application, and also he can understand the endpoints quickly by referring to the Swagger document. So by referring the Swagger document, he or she can identify the request URL, the request the mapping and the request body and the model which are going to persist or which are going to travel over the network. So here the Swagger is going to create the documentation of your REST endpoints. So he or she can easily see the documentation and can understand the endpoints requirement resources, right? So guys, the next purpose you can say that it provide a quick UI integration. So why it provide a quick UI integration? It means that, guys, let's suppose that in a server side I create a service to send a mail to my team in which we have a request body and a request URL, and also we have a written response. So guys, it will create a document and a UI to view all the like the the required resources for that endpoint. So this is the purpose of using the Swagger. So guys, Swagger is going to create the documentation of your REST endpoints. So it will be easy for you to understand the requirement of the resources for those endpoints. So now, guys, I'm going to show you how to integrate the Swagger to your Spring Boot application, and also I will show you how to create the documentation of your REST endpoints. And guys, in the market, there are n number of the technologies to create the documentation for your endpoint. But guys, Swagger is highly and they usually used in the industry, and we have also a technology with the name like a JSON doc, and with that JSON doc also we can create the documentation of our REST endpoint. But here in this session we are going to see how to integrate a Swagger to your Spring Boot application to create a the documentation for your REST endpoint. So for this I'm going to create a Spring Boot application, and for this I will use the Spring Initializer. So here in the browser, you can see that we have a Maven project and the Java language and the Spring Boot 2.3.4. So let's change the group name. Let's change the artifact name. And here as a packaging as jar I will use and the Java 8. And now it's time to add some the dependencies. So here I will use Spring Wave. I will add dev tool so that my project get auto started if I change anything in my project. And now I will add Spring JPA, and I will also use H2 database, and this is the integrated database of the Spring Boot. So here guys, I have added the four dependencies: Spring Wave, Spring Boot Dev Tool, Spring Data JPA, and H2. So let's generate our project. So it is going to generate in a GIF format, so we need to extract it. And we also need to import this project inside my Eclipse. So let's import it. So like we have successfully imported our like a swagger project inside our Eclipse. So now I'm going to create all the packages which I'm going to use. So let me copy this package name first. So go to the Java folder. Inside the Java folder, I need to create some packages. So first package, let's say I will add as a service. So inside this package, I'm going to create our service class. Let's add, sorry guys, by mistake I clicked Control V. So let me delete this snippet. Yeah. So now guys, go to the Java folder, and here I will create one more package. Let's say with the name DAO. So inside this, I'm going to create my DAO layer or my repository class. Let's add another package with the name model. So inside this model class, I'm going to create my model class. Now let's add another package, uh, controller package. So now I will create one like a model class. So here I will create a course model class. So what I'm going to do, guys, in this lecture, I'm going to create the REST endpoints. And guys, the REST endpoints like endpoint to save like a new course object to my S2 database, and also a endpoint to get all the courses available in my S2 database, and also an endpoint to delete any courses according to the ID, and also a REST point to update a course according to the ID. So these are the REST point I am going to create. So guys, now I'm going to create my entity class. So here let me mark this with a entity, and I will mark this with a table, so that I want that this so guys, I want that the table should be created with the name course inside my H2 database, right? So here guys, the course has the three properties, like let's say course ID, and the course name, and let's say other as a price. So these are the three properties I have added to my course entity class, and I want that course ID should be like a primary key. So let me add ID annotation, and I want that course ID should be auto generated. So for that I have added generated value, and I will extend this course class. Uh, I will implement this class with like a serializable interface, right? So let me add one like generated serial version ID. So let's create a parametric constructor, create default constructor, I will create getter and the setter methods for all the properties except the serial version ID. And also I will create one like a toString method for this course model class. So guys, I have created a course entity class, and here you can see that this is entity class, and here I am marked with the @ table, and this is my auto generated ID, course ID, and it is also a primary key, right? So now I'm going to create my DAO layer. So let's create a interface with the name, let's say course repository. So I will like extend this interface with a JP repository, And here in the generic part I will pass my like entity class, so it is a course. And here we need to pass the type of my like a primary key, so primary key is like integer, so here we need to pass integer. So guys, I have created one like a course repository, and here it is extending with a jpa repository. So jpa repository is going to provide us the crud operations method like save and find all to get all the course object and of my database, and also a delete method to delete any course object according to the id, like delete by id, right? So these are the methods, the crud operations method we will get from my jpa repository. So this is my like a repository, the course repository. Now I am going to create a service class. Let's say this service class with the name course service, right? So this is service class. So let me mark this with a service annotation. And inside this class I'm going to create a couple of like a method to add a new like a course object to my s2 database, and also a method to get all the courses available in my s2 database, and also a method to delete a particular course according to the id. So let's create the method is first. So return type as a string, method name as a save course. So this is going to take the object of our course. So now we need to inject the course repository. So let's mark this with the auto wire annotation. So here like repository, and we have a method in a like a save method, and here you can see that it is taking the argument as an entity class object. So here I will pass course. So here we need to pass or to return a string. So let me add a dummy string like course saved course with some id. Let's say with the id course dot get course id, right? So this is the information I am returning here. So this is the method I have added to save a new course to my database. So now let's create another method to fetch all the courses available in my s2 database. So for that, public and the return type I will keep as a list, because we are going to return a list of courses. So get all courses, and repository dot we have a method like find all method, and guys it is returning a list. So let return this repository dot find all method, import this with the util package. All right. So guys, I have also created a method to get all the courses available in my S2 database. Now let's create another method. And here I am going to also return a list, because guys, let's say that I want to delete some course from my like a database, and after that I want to return all the courses available after deleting that particular course. So delete course by id, right? So So here I will do repository dot we have a method, let's say delete by id method, and here I need to pass some id. So here in the argument of this method, here I will take integer as a course id. So this need I need to pass this course id here. And here we need to pass some return as a list. So here I will call again repository dot find all method. So again it is going to fetch all the courses available after deleting the course according to this id, right? So guys, here I have implemented a delete course method. So guys, it is going to delete a particular course according to the id, and after that it is going to return a list of the courses like which are available after deleting that course. So these are the three methods I have created in my service layer. Now let's create a controller. So go to our controller package, and here let's create one class with the name, let's say, course controller. So this is my REST controller. So annotate this with a REST controller, and let annotate again a request mapping. So guys, I want a root URL for this. So course as a root URL. Now inside this controller, I will create some endpoints, like the endpoints to create, like to save a new course to my database, and also an endpoint to get all the courses available in my database, and also an endpoint to delete a particular course according to the ID. So let's create an endpoint, public return type string, let's say save course. So it is going to take an argument as a course object, course model object, right? So now I need to inject like a course service to this controller. So let inject it, annotate with AutoWire. Now we need to call a service method. Let's say we have a service method like save course, right? Save course, and here we are passing the course object. And guys, this course object should be annotated with request body. And guys, here I am annotating this course with the request body because I want this course to get from my header of my request, from the request header, right? So that's why I have marked this with the request body. And here I will mark this as a post mapping because I want that this API or this endpoint should be called at the HTTP post method, and here the URL is save. So I need to put or return. Okay, I need to put semicolon. So guys, I have created an endpoint to save a course to my h2 database, and here I have marked with the post mapping. Now let's create another endpoint actually to get all the courses available after, all right, in my database. So public, and return type will be list type course, get all courses. So return service dot, we have a method something named with get all courses, right? So this is going to return the list of the courses available in my h2 database. So let me import the package with the util. So here I will mark this with the get mapping, and here guys I am marking this with the get mapping because I want that this REST API should be called at like the HTTP get method. So let me provide like get course. So let's create another endpoint to delete a course, and here I will keep this as a list of course, because I want that, guys, it is going to return the list of the courses after deleting that particular course according to this id. So delete course by id, return service dot, we have a method like delete courses by id, and here we will pass course id. So let me mark this with the annotation delete mapping annotation. We have a delete mapping annotation. So guys, I want that this endpoint should be called at http delete method. So delete course, right? So, and also guys, and here I need to pass the course ID. So integer course ID. So here I need to pass the ID inside my URL. So course ID, and here we need to annotate this with the path variable annotation because I want to get this course ID from my URL. All right, from my request URL. So this will be my request URL. So I want the course ID from my request URL. So that's why I have annotated with a path variable. So it will take this ID and it will store it here, and then it will going to pass to my delete course by ID method of my service class, right? So guys, I have created these endpoints, the three endpoint, to save a new course to the database, to get all the courses available to my s2 database, and also in the last I have created a delete course method to delete a particular course according to this id, right? So guys, this is our like a swagger project, is like a one like a microservices, and we have only one controller, right? So this is my one controller, and all these method are like my endpoints. So now guys, we need to write the swagger to generate the document for this particular like the controller. So for this, using the swagger, we need to generate some document for this REST APIs here we have written, right? So for this, we need to add some like a swagger related dependencies in my pom.xml. So here we need to add some pom.xml dependencies. So guys, I have already saved this here. So let me copy these dependencies from here, and then I will explain you. So guys, inside the pom.xml, you can paste anywhere, like inside the dependencies, and here I am pasting. So these are the two dependencies I am adding for the swagger integration, like the with the artifact name swagger fox swagger 2, and sorry, the spring fox swagger UI and spring fox swagger 2, right? So these are the two dependencies I have added to my pom.xml. So now guys, the next step is like, guys, we need to inform the swagger for which controller you want to generate the documentation. As here I am using only one controller, but in like a real life scenario or in a real life like application, we may have an n number of controller. So we need to inform the swagger that for which controller I want to generate the documentation for my endpoints. So guys, for this we need to write some like a configuration class or a configuration part. So for this I'm going to create one configuration class. So here I will create one package. So let me copy this package name, and inside my Java folder I will create one package. Let's say something with the name config, and then I will create one class, let's say with the name something swagger config. All right. So guys, I have created a swagger config class inside my config, and here guys, inside this I need to implement some configuration about a swagger. So first of all, I will add a configuration because this is my configuration class, and now I need to enable a swagger to my application. So for this I will use enable swagger. to annotation, right? And now guys, I will copy the configuration part, and then guys, it is very easy. I will explain you as I copy it. So let me go to this file, and here I have already written all the configurations. And guys, after copying, I will explain you everything, so don't worry. So let me copy it and let me paste it here. So inside my swagger config class, let me paste these two methods, right? Now let me import all the packages first, then I will explain you. And here I am using like a duplicate class, and guys, it is like a class and the plugin class from a Spring framework. So API info and API info builder. And now we need to import one more line. Let's say import static from regex for the regex. So go to here and import it here. So guys, we have imported a regex like a static Spring Fox documentation and builder and the path selector dot regex. So guys, I have written the configuration for my Swagger. So guys, here guys, you can see that here I am using like a Ducat class, and guys, it is from the Spring. All right. And here we have a post API method, and here I am creating the Ducat object, and then inside this object I am writing document type as a Swagger2, and the group name I am assigning as a xadmin, and then dot path, inside the path as I'm passing a regex, and inside the argument I am passing the URL path for which controller I want to create the documentation. So let's say that we have only a one controller here, but guys, if we have an n number of controller, then we have to assign here. So let's say that here we have like a course controller, and here you can see that in the request mapping, the root URL, we have a course. So guys, this I have implemented here or written the path here, that slash course dot star. It means that it is going to create the documentation of the endpoints which are like available in that controller, which have the request mapping as path, course, and after this star. All right. So it is going to create all the documentation for all the rest points which have the path with the course, right? And after that, we have a API information method. Inside this, I have created the object of the API info builder, and then I'm calling a title method, and this is my title course API of my documentation. And then I have provided some description part, and then the term of service, and this is my URL of my like my the YouTube the channel URL, and here license as this name, and this is my channel URL path. All right. So this is the configuration you have to do for your Swagger, and basically you have to keep in mind that you have to provide the path for which controller you want to create a Swagger, right? So this is the configuration you have to add for the Swagger, and guys, you have to also add the dependencies which I have shown you in the form.xml. So guys, I hope I have implemented like the every configuration I have added here. So let's start our server and let's see that whether it is working or not. So run as a Java application. So we can see that our project has started on port number 8080. So let's go to our browser and let's hit a Swagger URL. So it is localhost 8080. We have a Swagger UI HTML. All right, let's hit it. So guys, here you can see that we have generated our Swagger like document for our REST API, and this is the title as a course API as I have shown you, and this is the all right, and here this is the description, and here we have a course controller, and here you can see that inside the course controller you can see the information or the documentation of the REST endpoints which we have created, like delete, get, and post, right? And these are the URL which you have assigned, like course was my request mapping, and these are my the like the URL of the delete mapping and the get mapping and the post mapping safe. All right. So let me expand this as a get mapping. So here you can see that we are getting a response classes, and guys, here you can see that we have a model schema. So this is my model schema, this is my model class. All right, and we have a response message also. Like if you are getting 1401, it means that we are unauthorized. If you are getting 403, then it is like forbidden. All right, so these are the information and the document which we are getting if we are implementing a swagger. And all right, and all right, and now guys, you can see that we have these like course model, and this is our like the model schema of my REST API or the endpoints. So from this Swagger, like the UI integration, we can do a post method, and we can add directly a post method. So guys, it means that we cannot have to use the third party tool like a postman to do a API call. So with this, like a like a Swagger, we can do like a API call also. So this is my course, all right, and guys, it is required, and here we need to pass some like a JSON body, request body, and here you can see that application slash JSON, all right. So now let me show you by adding a course to my database. So for that we need to pass a request body, and here you can see that this is my schema here. All right, so we have a course ID, and guys, here I have kept the course ID as a auto generated, so we don't need to write a course ID in my request body. So only we will write a course name. Let's say course name as I'm writing as xadmin, and now I will assign price. Let's keep the price as 500. So this is the request body I have added as a in a like a JSON format. All right, and now I want to save this to my database, S2 database. So here you can see that we have button try it out. So let me hit it. So you can see that guys, we are able to save it because we are getting a response 200, and here you can see that in a response we are getting a dummy string as a saved course ID with ID 1. All right, so it means that with the ID 1 we have saved to our database. Now let's fetch. So let's open get, and here let's hit try it out, and let's see guys, we are getting a response. So guys, we are getting in a response what we have just added, right? Course ID 1, course name xadmin, price 500. So let me add one more course object. So let's change this xadmin spring boot, and here price I want to keep this as 1,000. Right, so let me hit a try it out. So here you can see that we are getting saved course ID with ID 2. So let's call a get method, and let's check that whether we are getting the two object from our uh, database or not. So try it out. So here you can see that we are getting the two object in a JSON format, like with the course ID 1 and with the course ID 2. All right, it means that our get and post are working fine. So now let's check our delete is working fine or not. So we have the two course like 1 and 2. So here I want to delete course ID with 1. So expand this delete, and here you can see that we have a course ID. So here I need to pass 1. All right, and this is like a required field. So let's hit a try it out. So here you can see that we are getting a response body with the course ID 2, and guys, all right, it means that guys, we are able to delete a course ID 1. And guys, if you remember, there I have returning the list of all the courses which are available after deleting any course. So here guys, we are left with only the course ID with 2. So this is why guys, we are getting a response body in a JSON format with the course ID as 2. All right, so guys, in this way guys, you can see that we can create our Swagger documentation for every endpoints, and we can, in fact, we can do a API call also from this Swagger too. And guys, we don't need to use the other third party tools like Postman to do a like a API call. All right, and guys, these are the URL you can see. And guys, if you see here, so guys, now let's see the like guys, what are the extra features we are getting with the Swagger. So here if you'll see that we are getting the information as a delete course by ID, get all courses, save courses. So guys, these are the names which are like which we have written in our like a service class, right? So let's go and change this, and now guys we are going to provide some like a meaningful name to these. All right, so guys, how we can do? So let's go to our Eclipse, and inside my controller class. All right, inside my controller class, what I can do after like a post mapping, I can use here API, like a API operation, and here I can provide a value as let's say here I will provide the value as, let's say, uh, it is saving new course, right? In the same way, in above of the get all course, we need to annotate this with the API operation, and in the argument I will pass the value as let's say, it will fetch all courses. Now let add this information to my delete method also. So API operation, and as a value I will pass the string, it will delete course with id. All right, so let me save this, and here you can see that as I save it, our application started automatically, because here we are using uh, like uh, like a Spring Dev tool. All right, so let's go to our browser and let's refresh it, and let's say that we are able to change it not. So guys, here you can see that if I will refresh it, here you will see the changes, right? So let me refresh it. So course. So guys, here guys, you can see that now we are getting some like a meaningful guys, it will delete course with id, it will fetch all courses, like it is saving new course, right? So these are some like the meaningful name. So guys, in the same way, if we will go inside like a gate, so here guys, in the schema, so guys, this is the model schema, right? And guys, inside this model you can see that we are getting some like the course id. So guys, here guys, we can provide some like the information, like this is auto generated id. All right, and this is like a primary key, and this is my course name. So guys, we can provide some information here also. So because guys, by seeing these properties, we cannot say now what things these are doing. So we can provide some like a message to our like a model class also. So guys, how we can do this? So let's see how we can add some information to my like a model also. So go to my Eclipse, go to my course Java entity class, and here guys, above the course id, here we need to pass API operation. So we need to do API model like property annotation, and here in the same way we need to pass some value in a string. So this is like auto generated id, right? So this information I have passed. So in the same way, we can add API model property, and here we can pass in the argument value as some string as uh, this is course name. In the same way, at the rate API model property, and here inside the value we can pass like this is price of course. So let's save this. So our application is started automatically. Now let's go to my Chrome, and here I will refresh my Swagger documentation URL, and let's see guys, we are getting the information of the model or not. Go to the model. So now guys, you can see that we are getting this information as a course id. We are getting that this is auto generated id. this is like course name, this is price of the course. So guys, in this lecture we have seen how to create or how to implement a Swagger to generate the documentation of your endpoints which you have included in your application, right? So guys, thank you and have a nice day. And guys, in the next lecture we will see how to generate the the documentation using a JSON doc. So thank you and have a nice day. Bye bye guys.